You're watching Weekend at Gabe's, and I'm Weekend Gabe. This latest episode was brought to you by the good folks over at the Ghetto Flower. Use our code W at G for an exclusive 15% discount when visiting their site. Tell them I sent you. Now enjoy the show. Joining us now, she is she's the owner and founder of Overlook Media based out of LA, Nikole Sicairos.
Oh God, that was bad. I apologize for my friend Weekend Gabe for butchering your last name.
Listen,
one time.
Non-cultured, took 3 years of Spanish in high school and college, and I can barely roll a R. So that's all you're getting. I'm sorry.
I mean, neither can I. I actually cannot speak like a lick of Spanish, so you're good.
Exactly. It's struggle season over here. I have to walk with that shame every day. Listen, it's all right. But thanks for joining us. We appreciate you giving us your time. Overlook Media. We are so impressed with the work that you're doing independently, trying to set up independent artists to help them navigate their careers, navigate the business, give them tips and pointers. You're doing it across all the social media platforms. So let's talk a little bit about that. You were an A&R at Cinematic Music Group. You went through that experience in the music industry. How did you come out and decide that creating this platform and this innovation was the next step for you and your passion to support music?
Oh wow, how did you even know that I did that internship, bruh?
We do our research here. Nothing gets
Hey,
biased on this show. Yeah.
hey, I respect it. I respect it. Yeah. So when I first started to get into the music industry, maybe about 9 months ago now, I didn't really have anybody telling me what to do. I had no idea how to get into the space, like how to make those connections, who to talk to. So me like kind of starting Overlooked was my way of breaking into the industry myself because I spent too much time just waiting for that someone, you know what I mean? Just waiting for someone to help me out and kind of, help me navigate this industry. I was always looking for like a mentor, and when I couldn't find that, I was like, you know what, I can't and sit around for someone to help me. I have to kind of dive in and try to learn everything that I can by myself. So that's where Overlook started. It actually started as a Twitter account back in 2019, like
Mm.
November 2019. And I would just tweet like every so often about my favorite artists, review their albums, and just talk about like different topics and discussions that were happening in the industry. And it wasn't really being received in the way that I wanted it to. So that's when my girlfriend actually recommended that I hop on Instagram. And I was like hesitant to do it at first because I didn't know if I really wanted Overlooked to be like that big. I didn't know if I wanted to make a whole platform out of this because it was always just me tweeting, like me and my thoughts. And so I hopped on Instagram, and it was kind of like my own personal blog, just doing the same thing I was doing on Twitter, but now I was exposed to it because I knew that that would entice people more to check out what I was saying or check out the artists that I was trying to show people. So like slowly it started to pick up and people started to pay attention, and it just became this whole thing, and I was like, why don't I just put 150% into Overlooked? I got branding, I got like started taking more seriously. I tried to dive into doing graphics, and just really like create this whole platform because people were starting to pay attention, and that is what motivated me to continue and really build Overlooked into what I now know can be a really big platform for artists and creators.
Mm.
Mm.
I think it's clear looking back at your posts, your thoughts. First off, you cast a very wide net as far as who you're checking for, what you're checking for. Gabe asked in our intro production meeting, he was like, "Is she mostly just doing LA artists?" I was like, "Fuck no." She is she is
Mm.
covering Chicago, New York, Texas. You are all over the place with your interests. And you mentioned getting the well, and obviously you argue with people in the comments section. You're passionate about what you do. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we respect that from another show that's just trying to do our research out here where people aren't doing it. Let's talk about the logo and the branding for Overlooked, because I think that's where I was really impressed the first time I came across your stuff. Certainly the clouds. We do a little bit of our own cloud thing here.
Hmm.
But we're going back to that Instagram post where you introduced the logo. You said there's power in design. Can you explain that a little bit more and what that means to keep everything under a well-designed umbrella?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started Overlooked, right, I had, well, you can't see it now because it's archived. I don't want anyone to see it. But when I first started it, it was just Overlooked and it had like a star at the end, and the branding color was just brown. It was brown and white, and I think a little bit black. But that was just me being eager to like start Overlooked and really
Right.
just, start what I've been wanting to start, what I've been talking about. I was like, let's just do it. So I just put it out there, and then I started noticing how many people were kind of doing the same thing that I am, as far as like a blogger, a curator, just being a writer in the space. And so I was like, you know what? I really need to find a way to stand out. And I feel like the best way to stand out is always through your branding and the name itself. So that's where I came up with Overlooked, because it kind of speaks to my own path and my own journey in life, because I myself have always felt overlooked.
Mm,
So I wanted to serve like a bigger purpose beyond just for an artist or creator. I want everybody to be able to come to Overlook space and know that this is a space where you can feel seen and heard. So that's where the name Overlook came from. And then the coloring actually came from my designer who I've worked with. Her name is Leslie. She's so fire at what she does. That's where the coloring came in, because I really was like lost with graphic designing and how, the different palettes and all the different branding colors that you can go with. So she helped me come up with the blue. And then the eyes, well, I think it's perfectly, something that I sketched, and then she actually helped me bring it to life. So that's where I was like, man, there's so much power in design work. Like, it's not just putting colors together, it really like the different colors
Sure.
that you come up with, it all serves a purpose. And then that's where, the clouds came in, because I was like, okay, I need to find something that matches well with the blue. I want to stay on brand here and like make Overlook like just a whole like unit. I want everything to look presentable. I want it to look visually pleasing. I want it to stand out. I wanted to really inspire people to just take their branding more seriously, because there's a lot
mm,
of people who are in the same space that I'm in, and you could tell that there's just not so much of a care. Like, you didn't put enough time and effort into either your name or your branding. Like, you're posting artists or whatever. I don't know, maybe you're just doing it to cut a promo check. So I really wanted to hopefully inspire other people to take their branding seriously.
Right.
right.
You kind of mentioned this, that you don't have like a standard website. So when we've been talking with curators and people in Chicago who were part of the blog era 10, 12 years ago, and you would have your standard website that would have, feature artists, but you use your social media platforms, especially Instagram and TikTok, to kind of like broadcast who people you're listening to and who you should be checking for and asking questions and sort of stirring conversation. Well, why did you decide to channel in that direction versus a standard home for Overlooked?
Right. Well, I think when I first started coming into space, and just like me also being on social media, I knew how powerful social media was. I knew that if you're trying to build anything, whether it's a business or, something like a blog, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter is the place to be, because that's where anyone is really growing an audience. And I knew that for the kind of music that I was promoting, which is the newer generation of artists, my demographic is sort of maybe like 15 to 25. So I know
Mm.
all of those people are on social media. So TikTok and Instagram have been the best places for me to really grow that audience versus like doing a website. You know, I eventually do want to do a website, but I figured I would grow faster and kind of get to more people by just being really active on social media and just kind of maintaining a social media presence, because people undervalue important it is to really be on social media when you're first building anything. And
Mm.
also, like, if you're on social media and you're being consistent with it, it really starts bringing momentum, and people see that you have you're kind of like building trust with your audience, because your audience knows that they're always going to get content from you at a specific time if you're doing it that consistently, and that just like it really builds trust with your audience.
Right.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We well, you talked about sort of the new generation of rap, and there are certainly people from Gabe's generation who don't necessarily agree with the direction, with the energy that these new cats are bringing. And I mentioned arguing in the comment section, not to pin that as part of your brand or something that you love to
Right.
do, because I'm sure it's taxing. But I think what's cool about that is that it just proves that you're really protective of this almost budding flower of this new scene. Are there what about this new era excites you? Because you seem like a hip hop head. You seem like you at least have been a fan of hip hop for a long time, enough to know that this is different. What is different about it?
Mhm. Um, Everything is different. The production, the look, the
Hmm.
sound, the actual artist's voice, everything is different. I mean, don't get me wrong, like you said, I've been a hip hop head. Like I grew up listening to Biggie and 50 Cent. Like those are in my top 5 favorite artists of all time. So, guess that's where I kind of like a lot, like you said, like I've been arguing kind of in the comment section, and I feel like people think that I don't I I'm not a fan of hip hop. Like obviously, if you're hearing like a Biggie and let's say like a Playboy Cardi, obviously they're very different, and it's obvious that Biggie is the better rapper if you're judging on lyrics and flow and
Sure.
cadence, all of that. But like times are changing. Like we cannot keep listening to Biggie, you know, like the Biggie kind of rappers. Like there's so much good talent, like Playboy Cardi and like all of the other rappers that came after him. Like this whole new generation just it excites me. It sounds like it sounds crazy. Their whole movement and like that their cult fan base and everything about it is just exciting, especially the production. I feel like we're seeing some of the best hearing some of the best production, some of the best visuals that we've seen. And it really like if I could change people's minds about that and get people to like open up to their idea of what a rapper is, because you know the definition of a rapper has changed. Like we can't keep scoring, let's say, the same things that we would score Biggie on compared to Playboy Cardi. Like they're just two different rappers, and people need to adapt.
Hmm.
No, absolutely. And on top of that, you get a lot of I don't I well, you can determine whether or not it's hate, but certainly people come at you on some, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's a girl. You know, that
Oh
sort
yeah.
of thing. And I think that's also what makes your platform unique. What about that is special to you? Because we don't see there are obviously a bunch of rap fans who are women, right?
Mhm.
But if you go to shows, if you're in the spaces, if you're in the studio sessions, it's so many dudes. Like,
Mhm.
and that's a big
Yeah.
thing that we're even trying to do. We interview artists all the time, and our interns are like, well, you gotta bring on some women, like.
Mhm.
So what about that angle makes it special for you, being LGBTQ and also a woman in this space?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I think I've gotten like 3 comments where people were like, "Are you a boy or a girl?" And that really threw me off because
Right.
I didn't realize I didn't realize the space that I was in. Like, I knew that the music industry was predominantly male, of course, but once you're in the industry yourself, you start seeing how many male around you. Like, it's crazy just with the spaces that I've been in. I look to my right, to my left, there's like one. It's crazy that I don't want to male bash, you know, that's not what I'm about. But sometimes men, I guess they don't realize how important a female's voice is space that you're in. Like, they are so
Mm,
comfortable with being around a bunch of men that they don't realize, hey, maybe we need some female voices. And it's not just male and female, it's all people from different religions and sexual orientations. Like, it's so important to have different kind of people in the same space that you're in because you're just getting a bunch of different perspectives. And
Sure.
so, you know, getting those kind of comments just like really threw me off, but it kind of excited me because at first glance, you know, when you look at my page and what I'm talking about, the kind of music that I'm promoting, I guess one could assume to be a man speaking, you know? So the fact that I'm a girl and I'm talking about this and I know that I know what I'm talking about, it just it really like inspires and motivates me to take it even further and to keep pushing like the overlooked agenda because there's so many limited female voices in my space. So hopefully
Right.
I can inspire other females to hop in this space and feel like, you know, comfortable talking about what they're talking about without, you know, getting, you know, fear of a man's ridicule. You know what I mean?
mm,
Sure.
So
absolutely.
All right. Before we get you out of here, I want to put your expertise hat on. So, what is the biggest mistake that a lot of young artists do? We talked about sort of the branding component that doesn't always get a lot of attention because artists are eager to just get going and get their stuff out there, and they
right.
just want people to listen to it. But what is that the most common mistake that you're seeing, or that you think needs to be adjusted, or what are you seeing, or what are you advising?
Mhm. Just from like a blogger's perspective, and I know this is the same case for a curator, writer, or maybe even like an A&R, it's their approach. I think a lot of younger artists or artists that are new to this really feel like they're entitled to something, just because maybe they make good music, but it's really like how you're approaching people because I've gotten so many artists hit me like, "Hey, put me on the page," or you need to post more like of my music. And I'm just like, why do you feel so entitled that I need to post your music? Like, the right approach would be like, hey, how are you? You should
Right.
check out my music if you get the chance, or maybe just even like talk about something that I posted about on my page, trying to make like a real connection, you know. So that is like the number one thing that I've been seeing artists do wrong. And also, artists
Sure.
will drop music, right? And not have any kind of social media presence. And like I was saying earlier, social media presence is everything, especially like with the digital age that we're living in right now. If you're an artist and you're not on at least Instagram, then what are you doing? Like,
Mm,
you need to be promoting your music. You can't be that one artist that thinks, "Oh, my music is so great that people are just going to find it themselves." Like, that
Right.
is not the case. This industry is becoming so oversaturated. You know, everybody wants to be a rapper. Everybody wants that lifestyle. You know, they want to look cool, whatever, whatever. But if you're not like promoting your music, like, how am I gonna find it? You know? So that
Sure.
is those two things are the biggest mistakes that I see artists making.
Yeah.
word, word. I got a few more questions, Gabe. If you'll indulge me, we're gonna go a little bit over time here.
Let's
My
go.
last serious question. We like to have a little bit of fun in the show, so it's gonna get a little silly and funny on the back end. But my last serious question, and I'm not sure if you've mentioned that you're not a super fan of Yeet, but certainly if you've been covering
Mm,
rap music in 2022, it's hard to ignore what the guy's got going on. And
yeah.
certainly I've seen your footage. You've been to shows, early shows from him. and seeing his development over time, what lessons are there for other people there from watching Yeats come up through the ranks? Do you feel?
Man, y'all are really doing your research. Um, you're talking about like a that younger artists or new artists can take away from Yeats' journey?
Yeah, because there was a mention, you talked a little bit about like the death of the idea of superstar. Punch, I believe, tweeted something to that effect, and you
Mm,
had something on your TikTok. But it's
yeah.
no doubt that Yeet is a superstar. And
Mhm.
even today was listening to Cochise, who had a
I love
similar sort of bubble up at the back end of last year, late summer, early fall type thing. And
mhm.
I was listening to him today and thinking to myself, God damn, Yeet just took this guy's cake. Like he had a cake and he could have just kept eating it, but
Yeah,
this guy swooped in and became the superstar in and all of his own right.
yeah.
So you think there's a lesson there? Is there something that you take away from watching that blow up?
I think with Yee, it's like a similar journey to like a Playboi Carti, a Young Thug, a Little Uzi. Like when those guys first came out, they had such a unique sound. They were dressing crazy. The colored hair, I think they had like purple or pink hair at one point. Their sound was so unique, and even their production choices were unique. So when you're first like, like I mentioned earlier, how oversaturated this industry is. If you have a sound that is so unique and you start building like a cult fan base around you, that will literally like skyrocket you. That's with Yee. I mean, his fans are diehard fans. He is
Yeah,
building a cult fan base, and I've seen how powerful that can be when you're an artist. It's the same with Playboi Carti, with Little Uzi, Young Thug, like all the guys that I mentioned earlier. Like the cult fan base is really what is carrying them, and it's also their unique sound. I mean, nobody sounds like Yee. I'm not
yeah,
saying he totally like invented his own sound, because I think he
no,
did
Sure.
kind of take some things away from Young Thug or even Playboi Carti, but he came at a time where we were all hearing kind of the same sounds. Like his sound was so unique to all of us that just like skyrocketed him. So I
Right.
think you really have to find your voice. Like, and I know that comes with practice. The more you make songs, the more comfortable you get in the studio. But you really have to take the time to find something unique about your voice, whether that's your voice or your production or your image. Like it sucks to say, but I feel like you have to have some kind of crazy component to you to really, really stand out. At least if you're in this lane of music, I
word.
don't think it's the same case for like a lyrical rapper.
Mm, yeah.
Right.
No, I feel it. That's a really well thought out response. All right, two last questions here before we let you go. And I apologize, Gabe. We're going a little bit over time. You tweeted the other week that when you listen to other genres, it feels like you are cheating on rap. To that effect, what other genre would you cheat on?
Well, I've always been a rap fan. That is like my number one love. But if I had to pick another genre, it'd be R&B. R&B,
Yep.
even
Ooh,
though I feel like R&B is kind of like in a weird place right now. I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's not progressing in the same way that rap is. I feel like rap is the most evolving genre that we have, compared to pop,
Yep.
compared to there's this new genre, hyperpop. It's
I love
crazy. Like
hyperpop.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Hyperpop is good, but I do feel like it gets a little repetitive, a
I
little, and
definitely
I feel
do.
like it might die out soon. Same with rage beats.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
word.
but yeah, R&B. I just
I,
I,
need, I don't know, I need
I gotta
someone
be
to like.
honest. Cheating on rap with R&B does sound fun. I feel like R&B got some smooth grooves. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
R&B is like a cousin of hip hop because now R&B
Yeah.
singers want to be rappers, so
Mhm.
it's like
I think I
there's a
think it's
parallel.
partially also attention span thing. You know, the R&B
Mhm.
crooning was like a very long song. Like you go back and listen to R&B records, they're really long. Like people don't
Yeah.
have that attention span anymore, and it's hard to write a love
Hmm.
song in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that there. All right, last thing before we go. We've asked a lot of wordsmiths this question, and I tweeted it a little bit for you. But what was the first moment that you fell in love with hip hop that you can remember?
Mm. Okay, if we're talking like old, because I would separate it, right? I would do old hip hop and first time I fell in love with like new generation hip hop. So
Okay, let's
old
do
hip
both.
hop,
Yeah.
okay, so old hip hop, I would definitely do Biggie because I think my dad actually showed me him. He put me on to a lot of like 90s rap and R&B. And when I heard Biggie, like it was insane. Like I had never heard any rapper flow or have the same cadence or the same lyrics, the same confidence. You know, this is a big dude, and for him to have like that kind of confidence, it just like it really like blew me away. So that is really like the first time that I fell in love with rap, with hip hop.
Hell yeah.
And then I guess if we're talking new generation, I would say Travis Scott. You know,
Yeah, Travis
Well,
is dope.
days
I
days
know.
before rodeo. What was it?
Oh yeah, yeah. Days before rodeo, I heard drugs. You should try it. Wow,
Ooh-wee.
it was amazing. He made me really fall in love with auto tune and production. That's when I
Mm,
really like fell in love with. Also Kanye too. Yeezus and 808s and Heartbreak. That's when I really started falling
Yep.
in love with production. And then as far as like auto tune goes, Travis Scott is like the best artist to ever do auto tune in my opinion.
wow.
So
You heard it here
Yeah.
first, folks.
yeah.
Nikole, it was an absolute pleasure to have you
I
on.
got
So much.
I got
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Gabe.
I got one more fun question before we get out of here. I used to work at In-N-Out Burger. Would
Oh my
you
god.
put In-N-Out Burger as the best burger in the game?
As the best burger in the game?
Yeah. Like,
No.
would you die on that
I would
hill?
not.
He said no.
I used to work at In-N-Out. I used to work at In-N-Out.
Right.
Um
Yeah, we're yeah.
How do you guys know that?
We get on the phone. We call your boss.
Listen,
You
Oh,
know.
that's pretty wild. That's pretty no. I would actually I have to plug my dad because my dad just started his own slider business. It's called Under the Bun. Best sliders you will ever try. A1 meat.
li-
So I had to plug my
listen.
dad.
I'm gonna be in LA at the end of May, so I might be able to slip away to conference. So you're gonna have to slide me the address and see if I can Uber it over
Oh,
there.
I
So,
got you. I got you.
all
I
right, bet
got
up.
you.
All right, Nikole, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Weekend at Gabe's Overlook Media. Please go get in tune, tap in. It's the best thing that you'll find on these internets and one of the best
Yes.
supportive mechanisms out there for young independent artists trying to figure out what they need to be doing to be better successful at their music and how they're promoting. I'm glad you're doing the work. Thank you so much for picking up the baton and carrying it because it is sorely needed, unfortunately.
Yes. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me on here.
I appreciate it. Nikole
All
from
right.
Overlook Media. Yeah, I
Man,
love it. I love.
I love her to death. I feel like I could really sit in a room with that woman and just talk for hours about everything that I love.
Yeah.
So I hope that when I next get out to LA, I'm not sure when that will be, that we can connect and catch some shows, and I can get in tune with her network. I will say this. I'm not sure if she's listening in the green space or wherever, but I will say that Overlooked Media, since I put it into my life, has become a huge resource for me when I'm making my mixes, when I'm
Yeah.
trying to find new music on Fridays. And Nikole is a huge part of that. So I just want to first off say thank you to her for doing the good work, because I certainly benefit from it. The game certainly benefits from it. And
Yep.
everybody should be honored to know a person like that, a supportive person like that in their lives.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Pushing Rap Boundaries, a playlist that's on Spotify. It's fantastic. Go, well, maybe we'll try to put the link out on our socials so people can subscribe to it. But it's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I always feel in a weird space when younger artists or younger guests say like Biggie's old. And I was like, it's like deep breath, Gabe. Like they're right.
Gabe, he's definitely old. I just want
They're
to let you
right.
know. Gabe,
Listen,
look in the mirror
I'm not,
sometime. You've got gray in your hair, buddy. You've got gray in it.
I didn't say that she was wrong. I just said, deep breath. It's just like shit. Like they're not wrong. That's the problem. Thank you for watching the latest episode of Weekend at Games on YouTube, brought to you by the Ghetto Flower. Make sure to also click on the links in the description for more information to our guests and access to exclusive new music from the Ghetto Flower and so much more. Make sure to also like and subscribe to the show, and also continue to share, support, and show love by clicking on any of the links surrounding my head. Thanks for watching.